Shalom. I would like to share with you reflections on Psalm 86, but first, a reading of the psalm. A prayer of David. Incline your ear, O Lord, answer me, for I am poor and needy. Preserve my life, for I am steadfast. O you, my God, deliver your servant who trusts in you. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I call to you all day long. Bring joy to your servant's life, for on you, Lord, I set my hope. For you, Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love to all who call on you. Give ear, O Lord, to my prayer. Heed my plea for mercy. In my time of trouble I call you, for you will answer me. There is none like you among the gods, O Lord, and there are no deeds like yours. All the nations you have made will come to bow down before you, O Lord, and they will pay honor to your name. For you are great and perform wonders. You alone are God. Teach me your way, O Lord. I will walk in your truth. Let my heart be undivided in reverence for your name. I will praise you, O Lord my God, with all my heart and pay honor to your name forever. For your steadfast love toward me is great. You have saved me from the depths of Sheol. O God, arrogant men have risen against me. A band of ruthless men seek my life. They are not mindful of you. But you, O Lord, are a God compassionate and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. Turn to me and have mercy on me. Grant your strength to your servant, and deliver the son of your maidservant. Show me a sign of your favor, that my enemies may see and be frustrated, because you, O Lord, have given me aid and comfort. On Shabbat and festival mornings, when we take out the Torah from the Aron Kodesh, from the Holy Ark, we begin what is known as the Seder Hotzaat HaTorah, the Torah service, with a verse from this particular psalm, verse 8. This verse is well known to all those who regularly worship in synagogues. There is none like you among the gods, O Lord, and there are no deeds like yours. The familiar tune that we sing it to goes like this. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai v'ein kema'asecha. Now you notice it sounds like I just ended the tune in the middle, and that indeed is true, because then that particular section goes on to another phrase, not from this psalm, from our liturgy, Malchutecha, Malchut Kol Olamim, Malchutecha, Malchut Kol Olamim, Umemshaltecha Bechol Dor Vador. Your sovereignty is eternal or everlasting, and your reign, Umemshaltecha Bechol Dor Vador, from generation to generation. And so when we take out the Torah, we start with a recognition of God's uniqueness and omnipotence and omnipresence. There is none like you among the gods, O Lord. This is not to say that we believe in other gods. It is to say that all those nations or peoples or cultures who believe in polytheism or the existence of many gods, Judaism instead asserts the belief in one unique, omnipresent, and omniscient God. There is none like you among the gods, O Lord. In other words, you are supreme God, supreme being, and there are no other supreme beings other than you. Plus, there are no deeds like yours. Your deeds, your actions, your interventions, both in our world and in the universe, are completely unmatched and unique. Now, from there, I want to go on to a kind of a Socratic dialogue that I'm going to interject or interpolate into this psalm. And I know that the psalmist would not have meant for the psalm to be read necessarily or understood this way, but I'm going to provide my own reading of this, and I think you will see that it makes sense. In the first verse, incline your ear, O Lord, answer me, for I am poor and needy. One might infer from this that the fact that I, namely the psalmist, am poor and needy, qualifies me to have God listen to my entreaties and to answer me. But what if I were not poor and needy? What if I had my needs met? What if I am wealthy or at least comfortable? Does that mean that God will not answer my prayer? And so then the answer is provided in verse 5. For you, Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love to all who call on you, not only to the poor and the needy, the widows and the orphans, those who are of lowly spirit, those who are of lowly station, the disenfranchised. No, all who call on you, God, are recipients of your good and forgiving and steadfast love, your good and forgiving nature and your steadfast love. And so all of us who call on God are beneficiaries of God's loving nature. Now, what about those who don't call on God? What about those who necessarily don't have a strong connection with God, who are not in the habit of prayer or meditating on God's nearness? What about them? And the answer to that is provided later on in verse 15. But you, O Lord, are a God compassionate and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. Period. Not necessarily to those who call on you, but to all humankind. And this particular verse, which is part of what is known as the 13 attributes, this is a section that is found in chapter 34 of the book of Exodus, when Moses is on the mountain receiving the second tablets of the Ten Commandments, and God reveals God's nature to Moses as a God of mercy, compassion, and steadfast love. These are the qualities of God that are emphasized here. And so one does not have to be lowly or needy or poor to receive the answer from God, namely a revelation of God's kindness and goodness and love. And one does not necessarily even have to call on God or pray to God to experience these things. These aspects and qualities of God's nature are available to everyone, to all human beings. In fact, these themes are very prominent in the Day of Atonement liturgy, in Yom Kippur prayers. And there are several phrases and verses from this psalm that I will not enumerate or list for you that are actually quoted in our Yom Kippur liturgy, emphasizing the idea that God is an ultimately compassionate, forgiving God, that God's nature is not angry or vindictive, but rather loving and kind and merciful. And that's what keeps us coming each and every year on Yom Kippur. And in fact, each and every day when we pray to God for forgiveness and turn to God in prayer, that's what keeps us coming day in and day out, year in and year out, the hope that God will forgive us, will pardon us, will grant us atonement, and is ultimately loving, merciful, and forgiving. I conclude with a reminder that during times of difficulty and sickness and despair, such as the time that we are experiencing today in our age, it is so crucial, it is so vital that we focus on the idea of a universe around us, an energy that is loving and joyous and positive and affirming, instead of an energy that is negative and judgmental and angry and vindictive. God's nature and God's presence, that we celebrate and remind ourselves of day in and day out, especially during difficult times. That loving and compassionate presence will help us to get through these difficult times. And indeed, focusing on all that positive energy will help to keep us physically healthier, emotionally healthier, as we avoid dark thinking and inflammatory speech and thoughts, but instead focus on ideas of love, mercy, kindness, and even joy and happiness. Thank you.